With so many boutique Blu-ray labels out there and so many films being restored and distributed, sometimes it's hard to know if a forgotten film is good or not without seeing it for yourself. There are just so many films being released that it's hard to know much about each before you finally sit down and watch them. That's where trust and reputation come into play. Take the Criterion Collection, for example. If Criterion releases something, odds are it's an impactful and somewhat historically important film. It will be a solid movie and a great release. That's just a general rule of thumb. There's obviously exceptions to the rules. I get it. I'd argue another universally loved boutique label is Arrow Films. Arrow has not only released some of the best films of all time, like A Trip to the Moon and Cinema Paradiso, but they also release some awesome and gnarly genre titles. Their horror selection is top-notch. I trust in their brand. So when I saw that they were releasing The Wind on Blu-ray in 2020, I was intrigued. I had never heard of the film, but I love me a good slasher, and Arrow normally does a great job unearthing some hidden gems. So, after watching The Wind, does it live up to its Arrow monocle? Well, let's find out together on the HellBound Horror Show. The Wind has a decently star-studded cast with Meg Foster, Hauser, David McCallum, and Robert Morley. It was written and directed by Nico Mastorakis, who has directed a plethora of films over the years, from comedies to thrillers and even horror. The Wind even has some serious talent in the music department as well. Stanley Myers and a young Hans Zimmer composed the film. There are so many good things lined up. What's not to love? Unfortunately, there's a lot I don't love about this movie, but let's get into the plot. The Wind stars Meg Foster, who plays Sean, who is a murder mystery author. She takes a trip to the Greek island of Monmouthia to write her next book in seclusion. She rents the place from an elderly Mr. Appleby who shows her around. He's great and gives some fun, engaging dialogue bits about the wind. Apparently, the wind is really bad in this area, and when it blows and howls in the night, you best stay put in your house because the wind has been known to be very dangerous. The old man mentions the hired help, Phil, who is also an American. We meet Phil and he's a bit eccentric. Later that night, Phil kills Mr. Appleby. Yeah, we're 20 minutes in and we already know who the killer is, and we have no real cast of characters except for Phil and Sean. The rest of the film is a drawn-out cat-and-mouse game and not a very engaging one. Sure, there are moments that are tense and well thought out, but too much of the film's runtime is devoted to those two, and it just gets a little boring. There's no real surprises left, and the characters make some really silly decisions just to make the movie a bit longer. It's a real shame too. The film looks great. They used expensive Panavision cameras, and the picture quality really holds up. Cinematography is nice, even though it's a bit more traditional. Little stationary camera. It's pretty, but it's pretty safe and relatively bland. That works if the story is engaging, but the story is possibly the weakest element of the film. The story is just too bland by 1986 standards. There is no mystery, there is no end callback to Sean's books, there's not a lot of moments that keep the audience engaged. There are some slasher elements, but it's more of a home invasion thriller, and a really tame one. Now, even though I wasn't a fan of the film to begin with, I got a lot more respect for The Wind after I listened to the director talk about the film. I feel like that's always the case though. Knowing what happened behind the camera makes the end product so much more interesting. Director Nico Mastorakis has a wonderful 30-minute interview on the Blu-ray, and it's so well done. It's scripted out with the director speaking while watching the film. He talks about the struggles of the movie as well as some of his previous work. He did everything himself, claiming that he likes to be the writer, director, and producer. That way, if a film falls flat, there's no one else to blame but himself. He says that he is his cheapest laborer and he can do all the little things that need to get done. The interview is super entertaining, informative, and pretty funny. Nico is a pretty likable dude.
A whole interview and I didn't even show my face? Darn.
Also on the Blu-ray from Arrow, you get trailers for Nico's films, the score of The Wind, as well as the UK opening with the alternate title, Edge of Terror. All in all, I can't fully recommend The Wind. There are moments for sure, and the film looks beautiful, but there isn't much to the story. It falters only 20 minutes in, and it never gains enough momentum to make the film engaging. So check it out if you want a slow, somewhat tense movie, but just know that this isn't gonna blow you away. This isn't gonna be a gust of enjoyment, but instead it's more of a slight breeze of boredom. And that's all I have for tonight. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, stay safe, and take care, everyone. You made it to the end of the review? Always were my favorite. Let me know what your favorite boutique Blu-ray label is, and let me know if you've ever been burned by them. If you ever got a movie you weren't quite satisfied with it, I'd love to know. Have a good one.